welcome to the conversation of mothers and sons. But I want to emphasize it's not only for mothers and sons, it's for everybody. Because even if you don't have a son, this implicates you somehow, whether you've got a niece, you've got a nephew, you have someone that is affected with this mental health. It's my first time unpacking this book, actually, Mental Decay with TSHEGOFATSO. TSHEGO, welcome.
Thank you.
Let me welcome the attendees that are there. Notando, thank you for joining in. Michele, thank you for also joining. My manager at the site, what you see? So yesterday I was on Instagram and I saw something that is really powerful, was written by Fortune Masina. And I wanted to use it as opening this discussion. It says, much like a boxing match, life has had me against the ropes at times. I've had to learn to roll with the punches. That's how I've managed to stay on my feet for this long. This resonates with people that are going through mental health, and it resonates also with me. It says, he said again, but a big part of my game plan is the ability of recognizing wise coaches to keep in my corner. They carry me through the toughest of rounds. My family, my friends, and some of you social associates on these platforms are encouraging, stunning optimists who help soften the blows. And this is true. We surround ourselves with people that really softens the blows. Now I'm going to start this conversation with Tseho, my son, my firstborn. So I'm going to ask you a question and please answer it honestly as you've already put yourself out there. How important it is to express your emotions as a man or as a young boy, or how important it is. I'll come why you wrote the book.
Thank you for having me here, Toma. Thank you to everyone listening. I'd say that it's crucial to express yourself, and it's something that I didn't recognize until I got older. As a young child, I was very quiet. At least at home, I was very quiet, and even when I was at school or socializing, I could be the funny guy that I kept to myself. No one really knew what was going on inside, and it worked out fine for a while. So it worked out fine until it didn't, and when it didn't, it really sent me spiraling because I had all of these emotions that I hadn't been expressing for my entire life. And emotions are energy; they need to go somewhere. But I'd stored them within myself. And eventually, if energy is stored like that, it's going to explode. I was starting to explode. And I think, especially for men, it's incredibly crucial. I think women maybe more naturally are expressive. You come home and you immediately start expressing yourself, talking about your day. But I've seen that with us males, it's slightly different. I think it's very, very crucial that we do because we are forceful beings. You know, we are big and we can see the violence that men engage in. We can see the excessive drinking we engage in. So us men, when we don't express our feelings, we usually tend to express them in different ways and destructive ways more often than not.
Why I'm asking this question is because we live in a society where men are portrayed to be weak when they express their emotions. Yeah. So hence I'm asking these questions because I think also as women or the society, we label our boys, we label men so much and we put them under pressure that you are weak, you're not supposed to cry. And I've always been on that you can cry. Yeah. It's okay to cry. So why you wrote this book? Because actually you were supposed to write about my journey. What prompted you? I've never asked you. People are asking right now, mother to son. Yeah. Why did you just change your mind that now I'm not going to write about you. I'm going to write about me.
Okay, so yeah, it wasn't really a conscious decision where I said, you know what, I don't want to write my mother's story, you know, it's about me, I want to write me. But I found that I really kept getting stuck. I was starting a book. I hadn't told you, I don't think, but I was starting it and I was writing it, but it couldn't flow. It wasn't flowing, and that's not because I don't know about your life. I know you, I think, more than anyone on this earth. Yeah. So I have the information, but it felt deeper. It felt like I'd always been putting off writing my story, writing something like that. But you told me to write, and you told me to write your story. But I think the most important thing you said to me was right. And as I was getting into your story, I just felt blocked. And it wasn't because I didn't care about you. It wasn't because I didn't know your story, but it very much felt, and it's hard to put into words, but it very much felt that there was another story that needed to come out before I could write your story, before I could continue my career as a writer, before I could continue my life in general. This was a story that I had to get out.
I understand, because I think that's self-love, or you start
exactly that.
Yeah, you started
to heal.
You needed to heal before you. I really understand. Any regrets in writing this book after you've been out there? Any regrets? And I've never asked you this question.
Yeah.
Do you regret being out there, putting our lives out there?
No, I'll say zero regrets, maybe adjustments. I don't regret anything that I've written in there. I'm proud of it, and I'm proud that I have a family that has been backing me and allowing me to be this honest, this raw, and this transparent. So I want to say thank you to you guys. Absolutely no doubts. There could have been more that I would have put in there, but I think it came out perfectly. But me saying it's more adjusts, I think the past 2 years of my life, you know, I was at home a lot of the time. We were also a bit of an enclosed family. So I went from seeing literally just the three of you, seeing just my bedroom, to now we're going out, we're meeting all of these people, we're going to these events. So it was a bit of a shock to the system, because I've gotten used to living like that. But also, like the book says, I'm quite anxious. So I'm having to to put myself out there, and I'm putting myself out there in spaces that I can't control, which is a bit scary. Like if I'm going out with my friends and stuff like that, I have a typical idea of what that day is going to look like. I can prepare myself, I can feel in charge. But now we're being swept. It's a beautiful thing that we're getting this attention and this opportunity to spread the word, but it was an adjust for sure.
And I applaud you for that, because I always say we must be authentic. A lot of us, we put on a mask, and especially social media. I know there was a time where you said no Instagram, nothing, because you felt not pressure, but you felt like there's a lot of fake. I think there's a
you can say, yeah, you can even mention the word pressure, and it wasn't a conscious thing. It's just seeing, especially like on Instagram, seeing people's lives that frequently, no matter how secure you are in yourself, I think subconsciously it'll grow in you, man, but I could have that, or I want this, and I want that. And even if we realize it or not, it'll foster feelings of inadequacy, of feeling not enough. So I went off Instagram for, I think, what, 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And because I didn't want anyone's voice, I wanted, if I want to buy a Taz, I don't want to go on Instagram and see a Ferrari and say, you know what, actually, I'd like a Ferrari. I wanted to take those years to find out what it is I want, who I am, what it is that I don't want. And I think it was very helpful to me, because I realized that I don't want as many things as I think I do. And the life I want is actually quite simple. And I think social media, Instagram, and all of that, it's a lot of noise. I don't think I would have recognized that about myself if I was still taking in all of that frequently.
I think what you said is very important, because now we're living in a society where there's so much pressure from people that we don't even know.
Yeah.
And I always said, people will always talk. Whether you do good, they'll talk. I stand by my word and I won't change it. Whether you do bad, they'll talk. And The worst part is they do nothing. They're adding nothing to your bank account. They're adding nothing to your life.
Yeah.
You know, and if we can teach, I think, our boys, and we can teach, I think, our children that be you.
Yeah.
And I know it's not an easy journey, and your brother also relies 1% that he knows himself, and we always applaud him that you're not under pressure. You know. Now, having spoken about this, remember, I used to applaud you actually. I don't know if you remember high school years. That one thing, I'm grateful you don't pressurize me.
Yeah.
Do you remember? That you don't have any pressure. You live your life, or maybe it's because you get comfortable, or maybe
I wanted to say that.
Why?
You often say I don't pressurize you into buying things, but it was, a lot of the reason was because there was nothing to pressure you into. You made it so that I had a very comfortable life. And a lot of people say that in high school, especially, I was on a high horse. I was quite pompous. I didn't think so, but looking back, I now realize that I was, but I also realized the root of that, the root of me feeling like I could just walk around and strut and be comfortable was because of you, because I knew I had your backing. And you didn't let me get away with anything. You can be quite strict, but I knew that at the end of the day, regardless of anything, you're going to be there. And that gave me a big confidence, helped me to walk through the world. Yeah.
Talking about being pompous, going back, remember I used to hate that. I would say,
yeah, I learned the word pompous from you.
I would say, briga. I think I don't like and don't think being handsome will help you in any way. So why I'm saying this, I want to let people know the relationship that I'm having and I have with you, that I am a strict mother, but I'm a cool mother at the same time. That I know, you know. I'm going to refer to your book, page 2 and 3 there, page 2. You wrote on the preface, they seriously don't have any guard roles on Table Mountain. I could jump off right now. If I am being honest, I'd like to. So is it you talking?
That's me talking. And that I realized that when we went to Cape Town for the first time. When was that? Like 2012, 2013. Yeah, 2013. I went for the first time. I went to Table Mountain, and I remember.
No, when we went to Cape Town for the first time, it was me and Rulani.
Oh yeah, that's even before then.
Yeah, it's before then.
Yeah, so that's already signs of what I was going through even at that point, because I remember us on Table Mountain and me being so shocked that it's just a mountain. Like there's no rails there. I could just jump, and I was a bit surprised at how much I wanted to, because I hadn't comprehended anything that was happening with me. It also wasn't at such a severe level. I was still tricking myself into thinking that everything was perfectly fine. I was head boy, or it was just before that time. Just before. Yeah, so I was having a good time at school, but in that moment, I think I got an insight into what was really happening in my mind, even beyond the lies I was telling myself. Because standing there, I felt like, man, I really want to jump. And I didn't think I had any reason to be suicidal at the time. But yeah, in the back of my mind, that was my first thought as we stood on a beautiful Table Mountain.
I'll come to the suicide attempt later as we talk. And you say on page 3, mental has no favorites, and its grip can be as subtle as it is deadly. And that is so true. Now we're making a joke, and I think when we were growing up, we used to make a joke of people that have mental illness.
Yeah.
I'm from Mamelodi, we'll say Bahafa, and we'll make jokes until it hit home. You know, my sister, when she was, diagnosed with a mental illness, and we went to, what is that place?
Vesperpeace.
To Vesperpeace. And when they explained that even educated people, like most of the people that are there, it's educated people. And it made me to change my view on how I see other people.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to jump again. Seeing your aunt being diagnosed, did it change your view in how you perceive people? Did you ever think that you also have that, depression?
So that scared me a lot. I think once I started to realize that I was going down a certain path mentally, my aunt, I don't know her being normal, and I'm 30 years old. So the entire 30 years of my life, I've known my aunt as schizophrenic, and I've seen her enacting on the schizophrenia, speaking to herself, getting aggressive. So that was my first intro into mental illness while I was still quite young. And so as I was growing up, as I started to go through these things myself, in my mind, there was no middle ground. It was either you're normal or you're like my aunt. So I got very scared that I'm heading down that route. And that caused me to delay, I think, speaking out even more, because I didn't want to admit that I'm suffering. Because if I admit that, it means I'm going down this path. It's inevitable I'm going to turn out to be like my aunt. And I remember you tell me some of the things that she was doing earlier on before she got to being like full-blown schizophrenic. Little things like looking in the mirror and seeing something else. I write about that more in the book. So I used to, in matric, especially, I don't stand in front of the mirror for a few minutes just to make sure that I'm not starting to see the same things. So there's definitely a stigma around it, and I witnessed, I think, that stigma with my aunt, and I didn't want the same life for myself. So it scared me, and it made me draw back from admitting to myself and anyone around me that I was mentally ill, because I'd seen mental illness. And it wasn't just that, it was the man who worked for Granny.
Oh,
yes, he was also schizophrenic. And often I'd sit with him while he was doing the garden and watch him just speak to himself, have full-blown conversations and arguments. So it was always something that fascinated me a little bit, but I was also incredibly scared of turning out like that. So once I started down that road, I was like, damn it, it's late for me.
Do you have this thing that what will people say if you come out that I'm not okay? Because I think you were brought up, you stayed with me for 8 years.
Yeah.
And we were brought up, I was brought up that what would people say? And I tried to reverse that as I'm saying now, people will always talk. And I just don't care what people say, because really they don't add anything to me.
So I'm glad I know that and I feel and live that now. But back then it was the scariest thing. What would people say? I was very concerned with what people said. It was I think it was the thought that occupied my mind more than anything else, was people's opinions. What will they say about me? And I think it was a bit of a culture at home, at Granny's house at least. There was a bit of a culture there. And my granny, I grew up being showered. She was conservative. Yeah, the image, it really matters. And I was showered with these compliments that were almost telling me this is who you are, this is who you need to be. So if I was going to deviate from that image, it was very scary to me. I think in my younger mind, it meant to me that maybe Granny or Mommy won't love me as much if I'm not this guy that I seem to be. And everyone else around me also started now in primary school, started to have a certain image of who I am. Yeah. And then they were feeding into this identity. It's obviously what I was putting forth as well, but it was really starting to take a hold, and I felt like I can't break from this mold. I have to be this guy for the rest of my life, because this is the guy that they love, and this is the guy that they won't leave, that they fear a little bit. This is the guy that Granny would be proud of.
And that, I think, puts pressure that you have to be somebody that you know. And also, I think there's somewhere in your book you're talking about being validated.
Yeah.
And I used to hate that. Don't expect people, don't. And you did that because you wanted validation from women. and why I didn't like it, because I know a lot of men, they feel that validation means so much to them. How did you break from that? Because I used to say, so please, you don't need anybody to validate who you are.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. Breaking from that was I think very tough to break from the validation, because I had to look at why I needed so much validation. And then that went back to that made me realize that I have abandonment issues as well, like huge abandonment issues. And then I had to look at why do I have these abandonment issues. And I went back to my father. He left when I was very young, but then my middle brother, yeah, you want to read first?
Yeah, you're now talking about your father. I'm going to read page 12. You say, the last memory I have of my father as a child is also the first memory I have of him, as it consists of him not showing up. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that moment vividly. I don't remember anything else about him before that and really afterwards, but that specific moment, I remember just outside there waiting for him, and he didn't pitch up. So that abandonment hit me very hard. But I didn't realize it until very, very later. And then there was my brother-in-law and his father. I think I thought he has a father. That didn't work out. So again, that was abandonment to me, even though I didn't consciously know that. And then there was Tolisi's father. I was very excited for him to be there, but then he left as well, abandonment again. But even with our extended family, we've never had consistent relationship with them. And specifically my grandmother and grandfather, when they left our lives and we don't talk to them for years, it was abandonment again. It was just these important people in my life that were leaving, that were here one moment and then they were just gone. And so that affected me greatly. So I wanted validation because I needed to know that people won't leave. And I was so caught up in what people thought of me because I felt like I had to guarantee that they won't leave. I felt like I had to earn their love. And once I realized those things, once I went back and traced all these steps, once I started to realize what they were doing to me, why I was taking certain actions, why I had certain thoughts, then I was able to get on a path of healing. It's not 100%, but it's far, far better. I really don't care as much what people think of me. I think now I'm very impressed by like the people in my life. I love them and I know that they want to be here. And now when I get into a relationship, it's great for me to tell you what's wrong with me, because then you can decide, are we doing this or not? It's a great thing I've got this book now. I can just, anyone who's stuck with me, even after reading this book, I know want to be with me.
Yeah, that's amazing, because yesterday we spoke about it, that your teacher from kindergarten.
Yeah,
I mean,
crash.
Yeah, crash. We have relationships that really, really matters. And I think that's what made us stronger. That after even reading this book, we still loved. You still loved, actually. And you got a lot of support. Next week, you're going to talk to the grade 7 of the kindergarten teacher that, so that's amazing. That shows something about you also, the relationship that we have with people. Now, coming to fathers, absent fathers, I know I wasn't aware that it has hit you that hard.
Yeah.
Have you blamed me? And we're talking now. Have you, before you secretly met him, did you ever say, blame me for him not being present? We have to talk about these things. That's the truth, because if we don't ask our children, I'm talking to people that are listening, if we don't ask our children how they feel and what they think about us, we'll always put pressure to agree with what we're doing or to agree with what the society is putting out there. So did you blame me at any time? And are you still blaming me?
I blamed you, yeah, I did. I think I blamed you a lot maybe when I was younger. I think especially during high school times, but I didn't even realize that I was blaming you. But there was this anger that was coming through towards you. And I could see sometimes when I was talking to you, I was quite aggressive. And after such incidents, I'd go up to my room and I'd hate myself for speaking to you that way, but I couldn't crack what it was that I was so upset with you about. But it was because I think I was starting to feel the pressure of not having a father in the house, and it wasn't that I've never handled the family financially. It wasn't like a financial burden. It's just more of a spiritual presence thing. As the eldest man here, I felt a certain presence and pressure that I had to exude. And then when I started to go through my mental illness things, I felt like, man, can I have time to figure out what's happening with me? I don't want to be dealing with a family. You know, I didn't make a family, and now I'm going crazy. Yeah, and I'm feeling this pressure, and I was like, why these guys? Why did you pick these guys?
I know you're writing there on the phone. And why I'm asking this, because I never lied to you who your father is. And there's one thing about me, if people don't know, I'm a very, I'll tell you things. Yeah, I'm open. And now that you know what you know, do you still blame me? Because we met him, actually. And I told you the story, what happened. And people can judge for all, whatever. I feel that women, we are put so much under pressure that we have to stick to things that are not making sense. When men are cheating on us, we need to just stay because we've got a child with this man. And I'm not for that. And I'm still going to say, I'm not for that. I'm not going to do that. Having said that, I've picked up that when a woman has got kids with different men, we are labeled. But when a man has got hundreds of kids, it's okay. For me, that also make us to raise men that are judgmental, men that put a certain expectation on women. What's your take on that?
No, I agree. As I got older and more mature, I saw the situations for what they were. And like you're saying, would I really expect you to stay with someone who is hurting you, someone who is chipping away at your being? No. And then you meet someone else and you think this might be something meaningful, this might go somewhere, and you have a child. But then again, it doesn't happen. This is life. And I think we're exhibiting a massive level of immaturity as adults by judging one another, especially for matters like this, as though we don't know what the world is like, as though we don't know that life isn't black and white. I think there is a huge double standard when it comes to women.
There is.
You are judged, yeah.
And I'm saying I want to raise, and I'm hoping, and I think I'm raising better men.
Yeah, so I want to say, congratulations to you and to my brothers. We have never judged you for a second. I think after I'd written this book, and I wrote clearly that the three of us have different fathers, I think you said, I just need to tell one person before before it's launched. And then the three of us, my brothers and I, were like, oh, it's not public knowledge to us. We
because
thought,
people assumed.
Yeah, we thought, no, everyone knows this. And it was never an issue for us. It was never something to discuss. I mean, even when we're talking about our three different fathers, we never feel like we're half siblings, even while speaking about our different fathers. The way we were raised, it's such a beautiful culture. I want to tell you as our mother that we've never even for a second judged you. We've never thought it to be weird. If anything, we've been grateful that we have a mother in common, and that we found each other as brothers. So no, the fathers have never been a thought, have never been a source of judgment. Yeah.
And I think, I used to say to you, as I'm very open and talking, that they used to say 3 nations when you've got, they would say choice assorted. And vegetable. And for me, I'm like, I was born from a house with one father, one mother, but just saying, we don't have that unity, not at all. And you guys, the unity, people don't know. It's amazing. Anybody that knows you, I've never heard, they'll always say you respect him, you know, how you conduct yourself, and being raised by a single mother. From those choices sorted. We're better than the married biscuit in one packet, if I may say, And for me, I tried to break what I hated from home and for a family, you know. How do you feel? Because you used to say you don't want kids. Now, having been raised by a single mother, seeing what the society judged, do you still want to bring kids in this world?
Yes. Yes. I mean, yeah, the notion that I don't want to bring kids because it's such a terrible world. It's always been and it will always be. But there's also so much beauty in this world, and through my family, I've seen that beauty, and I want that. I want to have that. I think that God made the highest pinnacle of love, joy, and peace through family. I want to experience that, and I used to say I don't want any kids at all. My dogs used to say I don't want a wife. I just want to be solo. And the older I got, I saw that that was masking a lot of fear. And so that got me to empathize a lot of men as well, even those who leave us and abandon us. It doesn't stem from a beastly place, it's fear. It's a lot of fear that turns into something, I think, much more cancerous and ugly. But I think the inception of it is fear, at least initially. And I was very scared of having children because I didn't know myself. I didn't know myself. I was scared of screwing up. It was many fears. I was scared of maybe being abandoned by those children one day. I didn't trust myself. There was a lot of things that were going into that decision, but a lot of it was fear. As soon as I started on this journey of self growth, as soon as I started having a spiritual connection with God, just understanding myself more and more, having a family became one of my top goals. Like, I can't put much above that. For me, it's taking care of you guys, this family here. It's doing what God would like me to do and having my own family. Those are my goals in this life. So now it is a huge goal and a priority for me. And I used to say, I hate this. I will never have children. But it was fear. And once I started to deal with these traumas I had, once I started to look at myself honestly, once I started to face these fears, I realized that there is a lot I want, and that there's a lot of beautiful things in this world, simple, beautiful things. And that's what I want more than anything else. But the fear and trauma keeps you locked up, and it also um, keeps your view of the world very, very dark, very contentious. Now, the world is a scary place, but I'm not looking to fight with anyone. And I don't want what everyone else has. I want what's mine. And I'll be perfectly happy with that.
How do we help? I feel that we need to help men. They are crying. I'm going to be honest, as you already put it out there, we know I've got different children with different fathers. They all behave differently. They all, yeah, and they all think, I've got this. I don't know, coming from maybe your dad, because he left when I couldn't stay. There was too much cheating and I couldn't. I did stay and it was just too much for me and starting to be arrogant. And I'm like, I'm not going to stay. And he supported you, I think, until you were 2, 3. And, you know, me with my pride, he said to me, when I dumped him, he said, I'll never support anymore. And I know you've got pride. You will never take me for maintenance. That's another thing that I want us to help the young men, help you guys, that it's not okay to abandon children. It's not okay to turn your back on them. And even if you don't have financial muscle,
yeah,
our children need love. Yeah. You know, they need so much love. And there's so much anger in men. Yeah. Because I've seen in your fathers, there's so much anger. They're punishing you guys because I dumped them. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. How do we teach your generation that what happened between the parents, it's got nothing to do with the child?
Yeah, that's a huge deal because often children are left there wondering what actually children don't even have the capacity to wonder what happened and try to investigate what happened. it's a very simple equation for a child. It's outcome something. And that's why he's not here. We don't think that it must be something to do with the adults. I feel like he's not here for me. On some level, we feel that's our fault. And yeah, I agree with you. When I met up with him, I made it so clear so many times that I don't want to hear about your relationship with my mother, because that was between you guys. You know, I'm the result of that. And for 30 years, I've been having to pay the price for whatever happened with you guys. But I want to make it clear that that has nothing to do with me. You guys were dating. What happened, happened. You guys will solve each other. But I want to know what happened with you, my father. You had a relationship with my mother, but you have a completely separate relationship, or you should have, with me, regardless of anything. And I think the way to address maybe future generations as to how not to let this mess get in the way is to stress how important children are. I feel like we are forgetting the importance. We like to say, yeah, it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that's such a beautiful saying, because it's a big deal. It's not a small deal to firstly bring life into this earth, and then to foster that life into someone who can be a wholesome and decent human being. So I think we need to prioritize kids a little more. They aren't just there. They shouldn't be just sitting in a corner occupying themselves with an iPad or whatever. We need to take a lot of care in our children and remember that that is priority, regardless of anything, and lose the pride. It's a difficult thing. We all have egos. I struggle with my ego like everyone else, but if we can get to a place of humility, and everything starts with the self.
No, I feel that, like your dad never had a father. Yeah. I feel like there was somewhere we need to cut. I don't know whether it's a curse or cut the cycle.
Yeah, you see, so yeah. That was one of my fears.
You cannot repeat the same cycle, that because I was left, I must live. I can't, that it still bothers me. So
that was one of my fears, and what led into me saying I don't want to have children because of my father. I thought, what if I end up and turn out to be like my father? What if I have a child and just leave? You know, I don't know why he left, but what if I share this guy's DNA? What if it's in me as well to leave? It made me scared. What if I'm that kind of guy as well? But yeah, it's tricky, but I really do think that self, yeah, the hurt, it translates. It translates. And we like to say that a person has an option as they get older. And that is true. That is true. But it's also true that emotions and feelings aren't rational. And sometimes they don't make sense in that I was treated this way, so I'm not going to treat my child like that. Sometimes you turn into the beast that was your parent without realizing at all. So yeah, it's not that simple all the time, and we do tend to continuously repeat these things, and it's difficult. It's also difficult to break generational cycles. You, my friend Brandon, said, man, watching you guys on Saturday, your mother and you was so amazing, because you can see how much strides your mother has taken in cutting a lot of the generational things she got from her. And I can see you and your brothers are going to take it even that much further. But it hasn't been easy for you. It hasn't been a walk in the park. So it's a lot to unpack and investigate, and a lot of choices, conscious choices to have to make. But yeah, that takes a lot of effort, and it's difficult because it also takes accountability and reflection and introspection, and that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, you are a very good person, eh? Yeah. And I applaud you that there's no bitterness, and you know, after being waved twice, you know, at Menling, that you're still talking like this. You know, my fear is, I saw somewhere on TikTok that for us as parents, not being, when you raise children together, you don't know your half sisters, your half brothers, and you end up having a relationship with them. I saw on TikTok, and these children said, no, we're already in love. And for me, it's, oh gosh, I would love you guys to know your siblings. And it's unfortunate that as parents, we're not aware that we're hurting our children.
Yeah.
You know, and I know your sister, half sister, tried twice to reach out. She even bought your book. And my issue is, she said to you many times, try to talk to your dad, but your dad was shutting her off. How do we navigate that? Because financially, he was not even there. I asked him many times to help when we at our lowest, and he refused. So how do we navigate that? Because for me, it's something, and we're going to open a discussion on this. It's really heavy on me, and it's breaking my heart because now your half sister wants a relationship, and at the same time, I'm guarding also this family that I've built, that love each other. I feel like I don't want to bring any outside forces that will really break this family.
So that's it's such a tough thing because she has reached out, and then you're talking about siblings dating. When she first approached me, I just saw this girl walking straight to me, and I thought, hey, an opportunity, because she was beautiful. But then she said, "I'm your sister." Yeah, she said, but she's reached out on multiple occasions, and she seems like an amazing person, and I also want to have a relationship with her. But it's so complicated, and I know that it would hurt you as well for me to just jump into this thing full force. And that's because of the pain and hurt and what you've gone through with my father. So your relationship with this absentee father, it has such a trickle down effect where I can't really get to know these siblings of mine, these two younger siblings. And we didn't do anything. The kids didn't do anything at all in this scenario. They were just born, and immediately they have to navigate playing sides. If a father is coming back to you and wants to make amends and repent, you can't just say, okay, yeah, no, great, come back. Because you need to think about this mother that has been struggling for these past decades, and you remember what this father has done. And now me establishing a relationship with my father, what's that going to do with my mother? So as a kid who has done nothing in this situation, your mind is already ticking. If I react like this, what's it going to do to this person? If I do that, if I'm in this situation, what's it going to do to this person? So you're navigating, you're refereeing, and you're trying not to hurt anyone. But to you, they've hurt you, and you haven't done anything. But now you're given this baggage, and they put it on your lap and they say, deal with it, it's yours. But I say, I just got here and I don't know what to do with this. I didn't add to this. I didn't put any clothes in this luggage bag, but here's your luggage. And you have to spend now a considerable part of your life trying to unpack that and trying to get to a place of wholeness because you've been messed up a little bit by the situation, but you were just born into it.
And so about this mental decay and mental health, the whole idea, it's for us, and not that we are better for me, it's for us to help. And I really, really want to say to people, I want to really raise better men. Because I hated what your fathers did. I hate it even now. And I don't want you guys to really carry forward that with that. And seeing now how men killing their girlfriends, how men are angry. And I think even their fathers are angry. How do we, I don't know, Michelle, you are there. How do we navigate this as a South African Mental Federation? How do we help men to heal?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. And it's something that I'm so glad that Leon is spearheading because as a man, I think he can speak to it more. I think from, my own personal perspective and as a woman, you would just hope that we can help men recognize that it's okay to want to work through that trauma and want to heal. And I think from our side, it's just about helping them recognize. But I do think as women, we also have a role to say, how do we open up and say it's okay for you to share as well? But there's just a conversation happening now in the country where it just seems that men are angry and that anger takes over from wanting to have conversations with women. And so I think conversations between men is where it has to start. Men who spark it, because I think, from a woman's position, we're still in that space where the anger is based towards us. We have such high rates of GBV, and it's because they're not ready to heal and speak through the trauma. So I do think it's a conversation for men to have amongst men, and that's how it has to start, just personally. But I think as the Federation, that's why we're really focusing on using Men's Health Month in June to have this conversation now. I think we did it for the first time this year, where we actually ran an awareness campaign in the month of June. And I think it's something that we're going to look at pushing more and more of, because it really does have to be addressed.
Is there someone who can help us with this, or who's got an idea? Because the whole thing is to help men to be better, and to also to help men to open up on their emotions, to ease that anger that they have.
I think it's also there's a anger and confusion, I think, now, because what made a man doesn't really qualify as much as time goes on. We're getting very liberal and open, whereas a man, it's quite easy to be like a man and to feel yourself. You are a man. You need to provide for your family. You're strong. You go hunting or whatever. But those lines are getting so blurred now. I think a lot of men are getting confused as to where they fit into this picture, especially because women aren't just in the kitchen anymore. You guys are CEOs too. I think men are feeling very insecure in their manhood as we redefine what it means to be a man. A man doesn't have to be the staunchest. So I think they're losing their place a little bit. That's why they're part of the reasons they could be abusing and killing these girls, because as a man right now, we're quite sensitive. It's hard to feel emasculated. It's hard not to feel like a man. It's hard to feel like you're inadequate, because we're trying to figure out what is a man. It's not what my father was. It's not what my grandfather was. There's this new shift. What is it to be a man? I don't really know. And also, it's not that easy for me to be providing. Economically, there's a lot of things, I think, that are going on in young men's minds right now that we're struggling to even comprehend ourselves. But I like what Mr. Ray said, and that to have these conversations amongst men goes such a long way. I know the amount of growth I've had just sitting with my male friends, because they're as sensitive, they're as open and vulnerable as I am. So when we sit together, we'll be like, man, we're scared. It's a weird time. What kind of men are we? Like, what do we offer these women? What do they want from us? But we were exploring all of these things, and just knowing that there are other men who are feeling like that, it removes the pressure from me to walk out of the house and try to be butch. Removes the pressure from me to try and prove my manliness by getting into fights or by subduing women. I know that now it's okay to be vulnerable. I've got these friends that are like this. So I think, conversations amongst men, honest conversations without trying to impress your friends, I think that can go a long way.
Anyone who want to add?
Hi, Nonhli.
Hi, this is Mawatu.
I think I want to add here, and I hear what the previous speaker said with regards to having a program in June focusing on men. But the problem that we're having is deeper than that. We have a social issue that has so many tentacles in culture, in religion, in upbringing. And when you're speaking of female-headed household, so what we need to be focusing on is actually going back to parenting. Because even when we're saying men should speak among themselves, to speak what? If the 99% of them will come with this pain and hurt. So even in those discussions, they end up being in the discussion, and the ones that are vocal in those spaces will bring the blaming discourse in the discussions. I don't have a job because women have taken jobs. I can't see my children because they are mothers. So the discussions that we have are multi-layered, and until we go back to the family unit where these men are being raised from, we're not going to go. Every time we'll be reacting instead of preventing and nurturing the men that we want to see. So yes, for me, I'm saying it's parenting, but also to engage, because now we know there's research that tells us in South Africa, we've got almost 8 million children who come from female-headed household. So the family that we had in our head doesn't exist in many instances, where there is a father, there is a mother. So how do we ensure that we utilize whether it's an education system, other siblings, aunts, to instill in human beings, both boys and girls, to instill that sense of equality at that level, as young as they are, that there is no man who owe any woman who takes the responsibility of being a head of the family, because that's where the pressure comes from. If they cannot meet those undefined targets, because also it depends on who determines what good fatherhood of taking care of children is. So they feel that they now are not good enough because they can't meet the demands like so and so. And those demands are not based on any measured indicator. So we need to remove the burden from men. And Seko just said, when they meet, to say the pressure, we can't meet. But who says you must take responsibility more than that? Because if there is research that tells us, even in traditional families, women were taking responsibility in other communities. They were the ones building the hearts. So the issue of building a home is not the responsibility of a man alone, is for both men and women. The women will build the mud part, the men will come with the grass on top. So it has been coexistence, co-parenting, and equality. But now, with the anger that we're seeing, that anger is misdirected. And until we say where the anger is coming from, because why is this anger almost like targeting black men? We've got other races in South Africa who also have been in this apartheid era, because we also are saying black men are angry because of apartheid. But so if they're angry because of apartheid, demasculated, the violence should be directed towards white people, but it's not. It's directed towards black women. So I think that's where, for us, we need a 365 days campaign, not a month campaign, to deal with this head of 300 years, and slowly start peeling this onion and get into the root of the anger, especially of black men. Thank you, sir.
Agreed.
I agree with you, because Tseho on his book, I think somewhere in his book, he says, you never actually experienced that much of apartheid. So where does your anger, be coming from? You can't blame apartheid. So I agree with you that really we need to address, and I also want to be proactive. As I say, I'm fighting to raise better men. What I hated from the fathers, I don't want it to see going forward. It needs to come to an end, And because now our boys are also on drugs. I'll touch a bit on drugs to experience that. I think Notando wants to ask something or add on something. Notando, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I actually wanted to say something regarding the males of our generation. I feel like a lot of this anger comes from our absent fathers because I also have an absent father problem that I'm facing. Also, my child that I have also has an absent father. So I feel like because we are raised by women, it's difficult for the male child to understand their place, as Utseho said, is that they are losing their place. They don't know which role to play in the household. Yes, naturally, as a male person, you know that your role is to protect, is to provide. But now what happens if you are raised by this woman that is providing and protecting and doing everything that a father is supposed to? And there comes a point where you also need to start your own family, or you are growing, you are getting into puberty, trying to find yourself as a man in the world. How do you actually find yourself if you've never seen a man present in your life? If you've never seen an actions of a man and how a man is supposed to be? I feel like that's when that you start feeling the void, not because the mother didn't do anything, but because the father was absent. um Before, there were traditional families where there was a father and a mother in the household, and you could see the differences, the role of the mother and the role of the father, how they worked together to make sure that the household was functioning properly and efficiently. But now here is Nhlanhla raising three males that there's no father figure. How are these males supposed to treat their own children in the future? How are they supposed to overcome challenges that only a male person can understand according to our perspective? So I feel like it goes back to a lot of things, especially how we were born, how we were raised. That's the reason why we've got so much anger and the misplace. We are not finding our place in society because of there's this link that is missing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nothando. Brenda, can you unmute?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, TSHEGOFATSO and Lee Mama Nonhlanhla for giving us the space. So what I just wanted to add was, I think first of all, when we talk about a transformation that we all want, and one, you have to go through these things. You have to go through these challenges, and where you are seated right now, so we can say this is a total transformation we're talking about. And so what I want to say, and it's just to add to what Mama Mabato was saying, it is these kind of conversations that needs to start at home. And Umama Nonhlanhla recognized that there is something that is not right to create a foundation for abantwana ukuthi bakhule kuyo. And so you took it upon yourself, because at the end of the day, yes, the family, it comes from the two people that come together and create. But then where does it start? It starts from the man understanding the purpose higher to this family. When you and your ex-husband, you met, there was a purpose why you came together. And so whatever that breaks that, it's part of those challenges. But I think where I'm trying to say is, I think we need to go back now in terms of healing and moving forward, is to have these conversations within the family, because the first institution that God created was the family. It was not the streets out there, it was not the church out there, but it was the family. So we need to go back to those basics to start talking this conversation at home. Acknowledge, umama must acknowledge, ubaba must acknowledge that, you know what, we didn't know better. We thought we knew, but then we don't know. But again, we are not defined by and I'm not defined by the mistakes that my dad did or what my mom did. I'm upset, Nami Uguti, my mom say things maybe as negative about what daddy was doing, and then that make me have anger towards my dad. But as you grow now, you realize this guy was only 21 when he had me. My mom was also 20 when they had me. What is it that they knew about bringing up the child? You know, when you look at the background, where they started, and also it all comes from the family, what has been planted. What do you understand about this role of being a parent? and what are the values that we're going to teach our kids? What are we bringing into the family that we want to create a good garden for bana ba rona hore ba gole hantle and to have good fruits at the end of the day? And so those are the things I think we need to look at and say, maybe I'm bringing in the values that they didn't work. You could see for my mother and my dad didn't work for them. But what is it that we can do better? You know, where can we change? So I think all in all, where I'm going is to start those conversations from Konklung. And how do you define a family, Endlin? What is the purpose and what is it that you see family banabahau becoming? You know, what is it that you want to see out of that? Because what you create in the family, it goes to the community, it influences the community, and whatever that is, whether it's positive or negative, it's going to influence the community, and then it goes on and on. So I think it's those conversations that we definitely need to have for the family in Sarona, and acknowledge that we need help, we need healing, and so that it cannot go on to the generational curse. We are carrying so much generational curse. It's insane. I don't know where to start, because I was saying the last time, the altars in Sarona for the family in Sarona, they are all broken. They are shattered. And the thing is, if the family unit is shattered, it's unfortunate that you can't work, you can't do anything. So for me, I am so excited, and I look forward to get the book, and I'm look forward to invite you to different spaces in Lorona, where you can speak to the young men that we also have in our spaces, because a space like this, it opens up for everyone, you know, to listen.
Yeah.
So I truly appreciate, and will definitely get the book. But we need this conversation 365 days. Thank you so much. God bless.
You.
Thank you, Brenda. Lebogang, I think you raised your hand.
Yeah, good evening, Mama Nonhli. Thank you so much for such a platform, hey? And you know, it's something that got me thinking, and it really got very personal for me. As I was listening to Tshego talk, and the speaker that just spoke now spoke about healing. It's something that I've realized, or it happens a lot in a whole lot of Black communities. So we still have to go deeper, because now we look at how our fathers were raised, and now we make everything look like it's normal, whereas it's not supposed to. You find that your mother's been sitting because Musadi Twante abegezele ko lenyalong, and that's not how it should be, to a certain level, you know. So now that our parents are not aware, that causes very insecurities. I know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's something that really happened to me. And as it is, I'm having difficulties with relationships, because now I'm thinking the next individual is supposed to hurt me for me to be able to stay in this relationship. You understand?
Yeah.
So now it's conversations that really need to be had, especially, please, Tshego, you need to come to our Black communities. We really need more men like you that are going to raise awareness, because it'll be pointless for us to actually talk about raising better men, but we're not looking at the root of things. So maybe if we could go back, and then also teach also the young women also about societal standards that they shouldn't have to worry about, you know, because that's another thing that causes stress for a whole lot of men, because now men feel that they don't have a place. So now it becomes something that is generational, and it goes from one end to the other, and it's not good, you know. So if we can just, like I'm saying that, Tshego, you need to come back. You were on my show. I feel like I need more of you now, you know. So please come back, and I need him, honestly, to be raising awareness, especially in, like I'm saying, in Black communities, because the standards are just too much sometimes for men, and it's not good. It causes mental health issues a whole lot, and it's things that I've been dealing with. But nonetheless, thank you very much for this platform and for raising such.
Thank you. Thank you. Polisi wants to say something. That's my last point.
Hi everyone. I wanted to ask both of you, like, how would you define what it is to be a man now? Because I think I'm at the age, I'm 17 now, so I'm at the age where it's very crucial stages, I guess you could say, into what it is to be, or what my personality is going to be. This is sort of the base of what I'm going to lead into the world with. So I want to ask both of you, how would you define a man today? or what a man should be?
Okay. According to me, a man should be, you need to take accountability, respectful. You need to, when I say respectful, respect people around you. And as Mabatu said, not necessarily that you need to have pressure that you must provide, but to work hand in hand with your partner. Now you need to start also showing love to other people. You need to start, showing how we raised you. So a man, for me, it's responsibility, accountability, respect, and love.
I agree with Mommy, and I like to say to my friends, my goal isn't to be the greatest. My goal is to be decent. If they can say after I've died, what a decent man he was, that to me is goal achieved. And decency is to treat people simply how you'd want them to treat you. It's very simple things. To love and be loyal, to have utmost loyalty for those you say you love, and for the people you love to know that you will do anything for them, to be willing to sacrifice, to be willing to teach, but also willing to accept that you're wrong. So I think, it's very simple things that make a man, to me, in my eyes. It's decency, a common decency for the world and for your family, and an unwavering love and strength. You need to have fortitude. I know that we're moving into a more liberal state, but there are some things about conservative men that I appreciate. Things like loyalty and strength. And for people who are loved by you to know that they've got you, to never doubt that. Yeah, to just be a man of your word.
And yes, mean what you say. That's another problem that we have, that we say one thing, but we act in another. Mean what you say, like really act on what you promised. Show up.
Thank you. And also, I want to say thank you to both of you. This is a very rare sort of privilege that I have that a lot of people my age don't have, to have conversations like this at my age with people who are elderly and people who are in positions of experience. To have conversations like this is very rare, and I'm very grateful for it.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for you. Is there anyone else I can carry on now? On Sekho's book, there's a chapter on using drugs. And in our society now, and abusing alcohol, there's a lot of drug abuse and alcohol. So how did you, like, now I would love to believe that you're not using it anymore. And what prompted you? I want us to help parents and boys, men that are addicted to this. How did you come out of this? And what made you, let you also get into it?
It was, I think, classic escapism. The first drug I did was smoking weed, and that, for me, it allowed me not to have to think. So for me, and with my mental illness, I was getting very bad, and the thoughts were hard and fast and terrible. And so with weed, I could just zone out, and it gave me a sense of comfort. It's interesting. I think, drugs they're an escape, but they're also people looking for comfort. I read in Gabo Mate's book. He used to work in a part of Canada that was specifically downtrodden and a lot of drug use. He worked at a clinic there, and he worked with a lot of heroin addicts. And he said that all these heroin addicts, they were describing the feeling of heroin in the same way. They were saying it feels like a warm hug, a maternal hug. It feels like my mother hugging me. So you can already see there that correlation, that some are using it to feel that warmth that they maybe have never felt, which is a trauma that they're carrying. So they're trying to escape into that warmth. Some, like how I started, just don't want to think. So this drug can help me just zone out. I don't have to think. So it's an escape. Others are chasing other things. So it's searching. is drug use. It's not the drug itself. Often after you've done the drugs, even still something like smoking and drinking, it's not that good anymore. Doesn't even hit that spot anymore, but you continue to search for that first hug that it gave you, right? And so I think if I've been hearing people say a lot, go back. We need to go back. I think, yeah, if we can go back to the root cause, you'll find that you don't need those drugs as much. If you can go back and look at the fact that you never felt loved or hugged by your mother, you felt abandoned and cast away by your parents, maybe if you can acknowledge that, you won't need that heroin and you won't be searching for that. So it is stemming for trauma. I remember reading when I found my diagnosis that people with one of my diagnoses are maybe 2 times more likely to go into drugs. And I had 4 of these diagnoses, so I was laughing because it made sense to me that I had gone this route, because people with these disorders, with these traumas, they are running away from or they are running towards. And we falsely fool ourselves into thinking that the drugs can provide that. Maybe the first 1 or 2 times they do, but it just ends up destroying your life.
For you, I can say it was easy to come out of it. How do we help now others that are so addicted? How did you come out of it? Because I just read your book. It's one thing that really I didn't know that you even use. Okay,
Yeah.
I got a shock, but I had to say, okay, you know. And I've never seen you maybe high. And how did you come out of it? How did you really beat that? We're not addicted.
Yeah, it was coming to the timing was very fortuitous for me, and that's why I think it's such a responsibility for me to spread this book and spread awareness as well, because I think the way things happened for me, I was very fortunate in that when I started now, I think starting to look at myself, or when circumstance was pushing me to look at myself, was when I think I was maybe getting to a point where I could get hooked now. But then I was lucky enough that I tried to kill myself during that time. So that put a stop to everything. I couldn't continue. But during those few months, I think I was ramping up quite a bit, and I wasn't even noticing. But I was drinking even more than before. There was excitement, but to me everything was fine. But I was reeling from what had happened at work with the sexual harassment. But I thought, yeah, it's all sorted, I'm fine. But I started hearing from my girlfriend at the time, my friends even like, what's going on with you? Because you're going quite hard. And I didn't even notice. But the suicide attempt was a blessing, and that it put a stop to everything. And it made it so that I had to face everything now. Nothing could be hidden anymore, because everyone knows I'm just trying to kill myself, and obviously why, what's happened, what's been happening with you. And it forced me to look at myself, and it forced me to stop a lot of these things, or at least get on the journey to now stopping a lot of these things. So I was very fortunate in that.
And I remember when you were drinking a lot, when you come home, I'll say it's a stop, because alcohol, even I can smell it in your skin that you need to stop, and you're going to even ruin yourself, because really, I said that handsomeness, you're going to kiss it goodbye. And coming to suicide, people already that you tried to commit suicide and they don't know why, and it's because of we think rape and all this stuff, sexual harassment just happens to women, even men. And I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. And how do women or mothers look out for these signs? And you can tell them a bit. I want them to buy your book so that they can get the whole story about what happened at work and how validation also is dangerous.
Yeah. So I won't say too much about it, but I got a job thanks to you, and I felt like my life is now at least turning a corner. After about 8 years of just depression and stagnation and failure, I finally had this job, and it was a job I was very much enjoying. And at this job, one of the bosses said, "I'd like to mentor you. I want to mentor you. There's something there." And I was so happy. I was happy because I'd heard how he was spoken about at work. He was a very intelligent guy, very, very great at work, great connections. He was someone who could help me further my life and could help me become a successful man who could take care of his family and also not just be a failure. But I think the root cause of why I was so happy was because I saw a father. The young boy in me saw this father, and I was excited to have a male role model. I was excited to have a father figure, and it was him. So yeah, everything was great. And then he started grooming me, and he started harassing me at work, sexually harassing me at work. And then that became a nightmare. It became a nightmare because I really enjoyed this job. I don't want to leave this job. It was a nightmare because who am I going to tell? This guy is practically running this whole thing. Who's going to believe me? Man, I can't go back to the life I was living before I got this job. So a lot of things were playing into my mind, and it went on for a few months, but eventually I couldn't take it anymore. And it was really driving me insane. I was drinking a lot more. He was making me drink quite a lot. And I see now that was a technique, but even after that, when I'd get home, I was drinking a lot on my own because I don't want to think about this guy. I don't want to think about what I think is happening here. I don't want to acknowledge that. So it was getting bad, and I was starting to suffocate. I was really starting to suffocate. I was finding it hard to make sense of things. And yeah, that led to me trying to kill myself because I thought life has been so hard for me already. I can't do this again. You know, I'd held on for so long thinking that it would make sense one day, thinking that things will work out. And when I thought it was working out, it just turned out to be the devil in disguise. So clearly, life is not for me. Clearly, I can't do this.
And the sad part, he made you sign an NDA.
Yeah, I'd even forgotten about that.
That was the sad part when, you know, such people, when they groom you, he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
I've never asked you this question. When we came after Pula phoned that I must come quickly, you know, try to commit suicide. When you saw us, what went through your mind? I never asked you. I never asked you when you saw me and your brothers.
And I was ashamed, to be honest. That was the first thought. I was really ashamed, and it took me back to when I was getting kicked out of university and the disappointment that you had. I felt like you were going to be disappointed. My brothers, I felt like these guys are never going to respect me again. I was like, why did you bring them? You know, I felt like my image was tarnished. But then after a little while, I felt happy to have you guys there, to have your backing, and I felt like everything was over now. There was no going back to what the situation was. I felt relieved that you guys were going to know now, and it was just great to have you guys there. My initial reaction was my ego. Wow, they're seeing me like this, they're seeing me so vulnerable. That was my ego talking, but that the pure me was very happy to have that support and to know that I'm not alone anymore. And I don't have to go on this specific journey on my own now.
But do you know, if I haven't told you, that I've never judged you? And I think even your brothers, they never judged you. And we always had your back. And after that incident, because I was really, really angry, you felt like you said something that how did I disappoint you? How my reaction disappointed you? How did you expect me to react? Because maybe I overreacted, but I don't think I overreacted.
No, I think you reacted.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I think you reacted appropriately. Yeah, it was appropriately. I think I felt pain, I think, because things were moving very quickly and like it seemed around me, and I had gone. I think that incident made me realize that I need to take a bit more control of my life, and I should have done that a long time ago. So seeing you move, even just like making all of this happen, you know, go to the lawyer, whatever, it made me feel defenseless. It made me feel as though I don't have a say in what's going to happen, and that triggered me. So perhaps, yeah, I think that triggered me to, it made me feel powerless to the situation, which was a result of me having been powerless. So I think I was just triggered by that. But your reaction, I think a lot of mothers would have tried to kill him. So thinking back to it, I don't think your reaction was that bad, but it was a trigger for me.
Okay. Yeah, I still want to kill him anyhow. I still want to kill him because we, especially Black societies, we're not aware that our children, boy children, are also molested. There's this, you need to look out for it. And can we have maybe any questions for Tseho, for myself? Are you still guys here around?
Yes, we're still here.
Okay. Any questions? Any?
Hi, Mama Nantan. I'm not sure. Is anyone talking?
My friend. Okay.
I just want to know from your side, how have you healed? How has the journey? Because I can just imagine that you first needed to deal with the separation of the family, your marriage, but then what has then happened to TSHEGOFATSO as well. How has that been that journey for you in terms of your healing and self-care of Mama Nonhli? And maybe one of it is the forgiveness. How you bring that into where you are right now? How does forgiveness look like, and how is living fully the abundance look like to you? Thanks.
Yeah, that's I don't think I've healed. I'm still on the journey. And I said, I think, to my boys, and I always constantly say that they must also recognize. So I'm a very vocal person, that I'm a single mother and I'm really dealing with 4 personalities, including myself, you know. So I haven't healed, but let me tell you something, that God is so amazing. I get really angry. They calm me down. I've got boys that are really, their personalities are amazing. Seho would calm me down, where I feel like I'm going to punch this person. Seho and Tolini will say, no, it's not necessary. So I forgive, and for me, forgiveness is forgetting about those people. I don't entertain. Once you make me angry, or once you've really wronged me, I'll try to talk to you, or if we don't get any solution, I really switch off. I don't communicate with you, and I even forget that you exist. I really literally forget that you exist. I think when I see your name or your call, it's how maybe I'm also dealing with the whole thing badly. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know.
It's maybe my journey for you. Yeah, I think you do have still a lot of anger towards these people, but man, I need to congratulate you, because it's been a lot of growth. So Tori can even attest to this. Over the past few years, you've grown a lot in trying to even empathize with these people, and letting your pains and traumas take up less space in your life, in your mind, in your soul. It's very difficult, and it is a journey, like you're saying, but I think you are on that journey. It hasn't been easy for you at all. I mean, people who have read the book, who will read the book, will see a bit of your story as well. And even that, it's been very harsh. So for you to still be able to sit here, still be willing and wanting to navigate and even get better yourself, and to have been able to raise 3 decent men, it's massive for what you've gone through. So you need to give yourself grace and acknowledge, like you are, that it is a journey, and that forgiveness isn't a one-stop shop. It'll be a continuous everyday thing, but you've been doing amazing, I think.
And the sad part is on this journey, this whole thing, I was diagnosed with cancer 2021. How did you feel when really with everything that you were doing? Because everything happened so fast.
Yeah.
Actually, your suicide, I got the job and I was also treated very bad. Like really, now I'm thinking about the book, Robert Greene's book, says don't outshine the master. And I think my boss thought I'm outshining him and he treated me really bad. I would come back home crying every day. I worked for 1.5 years, and that was really sad. So between 2020 and 2024, it's cancer, it's you trying to commit suicide, I think, or 2018 or 2020, somewhere there, or 2019, but it's a lot of things, and I don't know really. I can only say it's God, because sometimes I'm like, okay, where do I get the strength?
Yeah, no.
Where do I get the strength?
I kept my first thought, because I had now established a relationship with God, was, geez, God, how strong do we need to be? Like, for what do you have in store? Why are we going through all of these things so continuously? Why does it have to be us? Why do we need to be strong? Why do we need to just take it? And at that time, there's really not anyone around. There's no extended family. It's really literally us four at the time. So it was scary at times. At times it was very scary, because you don't know what could happen tomorrow, because things have just been coming out of nowhere. So it was getting a little scary, but also empowering, because I thought, as things were going on, you see that we can actually handle this. Like, we are a strong family. Like, together there is magic there, and you get to learn about yourself. I think that's what I've appreciated about everything that we've gone through, has been how it's pruned us, how it's brought out these different sides of ourselves that maybe would have taken us 10 years to learn. Because of these experiences, we've learned these traits, these strengths that we have in a short amount of time. And I think that'll make us better servants to society, having learned these things.
And I don't know if we answered your question, but I'm still healing. And yeah, the boys are the one that are really trying to keep me sane, because they're trying to keep me sane. And Oli said something, I think, 4 years ago, that as long as we're together, so we live by that. We are really, really a very, very, very close family. That I must say, a very close family. And it's always been like that, People will even say, your kids, are they going to get married? And they are, because they think I'm very protective. And I'm protective because of the society that we're living in, and the sexual harassment and the molestation. So all I can do is to look out for the boys and try to raise better men. It's how I live.
But I think also the society has put such a strong light on separation of family. You need to leave your parents, you need to leave. But I think that there's strength in family. And a friend of mine, they've got 10-hectare plot. The whole family lives there together, on their own little plots, and that's your dream. And I think the wives that we will marry, they won't be threatened by this relationship. I think it'll be part of what draws them to us, because they will see how much family matters to us. I think the wives who will marry will see that as a value, as a plus. Not, this guy, I can't get him away from his family, from his mom, from his brothers. I think they'll look at us and see, look how much care he has for his family. Look how he jumps for his family. If he's doing that for them, what will he do for our family one day? So I think it's a plus. It's a positive. We use words like mama's boy and stuff, very derogatory terms, but family is important and it's crucial. Obviously, too much of anything is a bad thing. But family is important.
So you want to add?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. And I think it was when you're saying like how did we survive, or how did we, I guess, go through that period of time. I think family ultimately isn't like determined by the individuals. It's the strength of a family is like the sum of its parts. Because it's funny, I'm drawing now, but like the sort of image of hands interlocked, like one hand is being supported by the previous hand, but it's also supporting the next one. So it's the sort of, you can be as down or as weak or struggling as possible, but like the family as a whole is such an interconnected system. And I think individually, I don't know how we'd have handled if we're on our own. I mean, if you were on your own, I don't know how you'd handle it. If I was the only son, I don't know, Rilani, and you, I think, I don't know. I think that's ultimately it, is that a family is really, the strength of a family is not just the individuals, it's a sum of its parts.
It's what happens when they come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
No, I agree.
Brenda, did you answer your question? Did you hear Dolly's comment?
Yes, 100%. I'm like, I fully agree. And Mama, we really salute you. You know, I'm going to join your group, your Mama, now at 7. They said, oh, we must be Esther's, we must be Deborah's. And I'm thinking, here is Mama Nonhlanhla. So the gospel according to Mama Nonhlanhla, this is how we'll know that as women of God, we are given strength to an authority to tramp over the serpent, you know, to protect your family. And that's exactly what, Mama, you are doing as I'm hearing you. It's exactly taking that authority and the power that God has given you to rise above and hold the family so strong. And you are so blessed with all the men around you. So, you know, and that's like building generations and generations that will know what they come from isizalwane sakho, that you took that authority that God gave you. According to Genesis, I think Genesis 3, verse 15, because that's where God said that. And for that, I just want to say thank you so much. And I still wish you, as you're saying, healing, it is a journey. And so it is a journey that I wish that you will definitely find that total healing the way God wish for you, you know. Nalabo bantu who's around that you said you tried to put them in the pocket, definitely continue to do that. But I wish you all the best, and Notsogofatso and all the boys, family Nyako, I wish you guys all the best, and we look forward to see you more and more talking and helping us to have these conversations in our homes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone who wants to add? I think I want us just for the next 5 minutes, we can stop before for 7, to talk about how God played a big role in your, in your life. And my faith was strengthened by you. I don't want to lie. There was a time where I said, you and your God, God doesn't exist. Really, God has really held our back. Yeah, amazing.
It was an amazing journey for me. Yeah, I think I wasn't one of those children who maybe felt the natural affinity to God. I used to pretend I'm sleeping so you don't ask me to come to church. And then, approaching high school, I got very angry at God, and I became atheist, actually. And more than that, I went around to schoolmates trying to disparage and discourage them from believing in God. So I really went the other direction. And when I got a girlfriend, she was going to church. She kept asking me, come to church, let's do this. I went maybe once or twice, but I never really felt any connection. But after my suicide attempt, I don't know. I think it was him saying, you're taking too long now, I'm going to fetch you. Yeah, because it was just in my heart to start to pray. And very simply pray a little, maybe read 1 or 2 sentences in the Bible. I did that every night before bed. Didn't really feel anything, but more and more I could feel I could feel myself changing, and I could feel that I was feeling joy, I was feeling peace, and I was feeling the presence of God. Everything everyone had spoke about, I was starting to feel this, but I wasn't in any church, I wasn't in any home cell, it was just me in my bedroom. That's what I'm saying. It feels like God was just saying, okay, I'm going to fetch you now. And it shifted everything in my life, shifted my whole approach on life. I mean, I'm not fully healed from these disorders. I don't think I ever will be, but I don't currently see a therapist. I'm not on pills right now. And to be at this state for me is only God. It's only God. And it really started to pick me up and give me eyes that see and ears that hear. I started to look at life in a completely different way. And there was joy. For the first time in my life, I could exhale. And I realized that God had always been there. He had never abandoned me. I think a lot of that anger in high school was just, why aren't you doing something, God? You know, I was getting so upset with him. But I realized that he had never left, that he was there, and that he had witnessed and seen what was going on in my life, and he knew, man, I'm going to do something with this. I always think when all those days I was suicidal that he must have been saying, this guy, he doesn't know, he doesn't know what's coming. And I just felt his backing. And yeah, God is just my best friend. For me, I don't know where we'll go, but as long as God is there, as long as it's God saying, walk this way, then I'll run, not knowing what I'm running towards. As long as I know God is there. He's the ultimate security, comforter, friend, advisor. He's everything to me. And I have seen too much to go back. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And your last words, actually, I'll ask also to men out there. And yeah, before I forget, people must get your book, Mental Decay. You can get it at DQ Florist, no?
Flowers, yeah.
DQ Flowers at Irene Village. You can also get it from me. I would say home. My number 076-182-3141. And you can also get it from Amazon, yes. And also at State Theatre.
Yes.
Yeah, at the State Theatre. So the whole reason for writing the book is to help.
Yeah.
What can you say in closing for the mothers out there, for the men, I mean, your age, for women out there, you know, because really, I think I'm bringing up better men for great women out there. I want to believe that.
No, this book is, it's definitely me as a young man, but I've seen it touch everyone, all different demographics. And my message in this book was, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I wanted you to know that you are not alone. I wanted you to know that and believe that. And I wanted to lead with this transparency to show you that it is okay to speak. I have spilled out my dirty laundry, but I'm still here, accepted by my family, by my friends, by an even larger community than before. There is no use in shame. There's no power in guilt, but there's immense strength and freedom in vulnerability. And you guys need to speak, not for anyone else but yourselves. I think we often think that we're living good lives, but you don't know what's out there at the other side of healing. So I'd like to implore you to open that door, to step through that door of healing and really face your traumas, because there's such a beautiful life waiting on the other side. And I'm only starting to taste it, but I'm realizing I've been lying to myself all along. Life is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I needed to walk through the door of healing to see that.
Yeah, social media is misleading so many people, because I know that I see people that I know that, you know, it's a lie, and they seem always happy, and we're acting actually on social media, we're acting. So let's teach also our kids that a lot of people are acting on social media, and let's try and be authentic. Let's try and help them, because really they need us. Brenda?
Oh, sorry. No, I don't know this thing. I'm trying to glad the hands. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying, let's try and be authentic and self-love. And you know what? You can act on social media, but when you go to bed, I've always said to people, you are literally alone. You
Oh, yes.
are alone.
Yeah.
You know, you can put on a fake mask, but you are alone. So try now. We must try and raise better men, better children that don't have that pressure on social media. They must know that we're acting, and social media, it's a feel good, actually. It's sort of a drug. It's just to feel good, to be honest.
True.
It's a feel good. People are acting. Behind the scenes, it's bad.
Yeah. No, can I just say thank you, Tshego, again,
Thank you.
for wise words. I mean, we need more and more of this. As I said, it's a 365 days journey, but every day counts. Even if you can change 1 or 2 men a day, those two are champions that we can be used in other communities. So continue being the teacher, the mentor. Ultimately, we are targeting this sea of men, and we will get there. It's not going to be easy, but we'll get there. Thanks, Dantla, for this session. Let's continue making a difference in every corner where we find ourselves.
Yeah, thank you. We'll do that. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, both of you. And a message I think I would say is just very simple, just trying to be positive. I think a lot of people think that happiness will come to them. And I mean, I don't think happiness is something that like will come to you if you have stuff or if you're in a right position. Really, happiness really is a choice. You have to put yourself in positions where you can be happy. And I think social media is one of those things where you really can't consume it that much because it's not putting you in that position. Do what makes you happy. Obviously, there's limits, don't do drugs and all that stuff, but do what really makes you happy. Even if it's a hobby, if you like knitting, do that. Put yourself. And if some people will say, "Oh, there's no time," there's always time. There's always time. You can always make time for yourself. And yeah, I think happiness is a choice, and we need to try and not be as pessimistic about the world. There's a lot of positives and there's a lot of good things. I mean, if someone maybe reads this book, they maybe think that I or my brother have gone through a lot, or my Rolani, my other brother, but really and truly, we are very lucky and we are very privileged in a lot of stuff because there's so many people same age or even younger than us that have gone through more, have no family to support them or no one that they can look to for that positivity. So really, it's about counting your blessings and choosing to be happy, I think.
Anyone, Notando, anyone who wants to say anything in closing? Thank you so much for attending, and we'll do more of this. And call us, let's go out there and spread the word and try and help where we can. Let's raise better men. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.